back, backseat besties. We've taken it from the backseat to the back porch, and it's all about love this month. We're talking about love in all kind of areas.
From marriage
to friendship to dating.
Yeah, all of it.
Parenting.
All the love. We want all the love.
Yes. February's the month of love.
That's right.
How was your Valentine's?
My Valentine's was amazing.
Do tell.
Okay, so I had it all planned out. I actually FaceTimed the girls that day,
Yeah.
and we were talking about backseat sisterhood. And so I was sitting there telling them, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Finally, I had the idea. I'm going to want a Valentine's under the stars. So I decided that we were going to do dinner on the back deck of our house. Well, then, as I was getting the kids in the car line, Keith calls me. He was sick.
Oh.
So that did not happen. So I guess we'll take a rain check for the next time.
Yeah.
Or, hey.
That's like real life, though. That's like
that's real life.
biggest case of real life ever.
He did give me candy and cards, and we exchanged our love in that traditional way. But yeah, that was what we did. What about you?
Yeah, well, you know, when you're married almost 18 years, Valentine's Day starts to look a little different.
Just a little bit.
But in the best way. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So, my love language is words of affirmation, which we'll get to later. So Jason left me Post-it notes all over the house in strategic places.
That's sweet.
To just be really sweet to me and use words. And
I love that.
like in the kitchen, like you take good care of us.
And what was your favorite one? Do you remember?
My favorite one was where it said, really knowing you makes me love you.
Oh,
and I was like,
if that's not love, just so
you're like love tank full.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
So, and we just had a quiet night at home with the kids. I think we got pizza.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So, you know, didn't cost very much at all, and it meant so much to me.
Yeah, that's a great tip for the future is that sometimes things that don't cost anything are the best things.
Yeah.
Mean the most.
Yeah, and then for me, Bob had sent me like a little text message. I think I was on the phone with y'all when he sent it to me, and it was like, will you go on a date with me
So
to wait for it, Waffle House?
Waffle House.
She loves her some Waffle House.
Love Waffle House. It's so underrated. But for us, again, being married a long time with a lot of kids, his idea was let's get out before the kids wake up and go have breakfast.
That's smart.
Yeah.
That's smart.
So we had our older kids take care of the younger one, and we just went and had a great time at Waffle House. And we actually did that on Saturday instead of Valentine's Day. So sometimes you got to maneuver things, take a rain check, do different things just to kind of make it work.
I think outside of the box.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was sweet that he asked you.
I know.
Yeah.
I loved it. We had a great time.
That's sweet.
Yeah, that is sweet.
And it was cheap.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It was almost like going back to those dating days. Hey,
I know.
would you go out with me?
Yeah, it was cute. I had to like click yes or no.
I
did. It was so funny, but
yeah.
anyway, it was a lot of fun. You know what's so funny is that at the end of the night, we're all laying in bed, we're texting, and we're like, so how did your night end up? That's when we find out that Dorothy's night did not happen.
Horrible.
She sends a picture of her and Keith laying in the bed with like candy strewn all over the bed. And then Christy's like, well, I'm working.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I'm laying in bed watching a documentary about serial killers. So it's like,
Wow.
such real
life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's not at all what they show on TV and the movies.
It's not always glamorous.
No.
Where was Cupid when I needed him?
I know. So basically that was our Valentine's.
Yeah.
This episode is going to be mostly focused on love. And one tool that we have found that has been so incredibly helpful is the 5 love languages.
Yes.
Which are words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, quality time, and gifts.
Who don't love
So, yeah. Do we know what hers is? No.
Actually, it's not.
It's not.
I know. Your gifts is higher than ours.
Yeah, but
so
I like to give it to
each
them.
of us have taken the quiz, and I think, have you read the book?
No, I haven't read the book.
I've read the book.
I've learned a lot from these.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've talked about it a lot.
Yes,
so, it's been a while since I've read
And the
it,
quiz will be at the bottom of the link.
Yes.
So check it
And
out.
we have just found that this has been so helpful, not just with our marriages, but even with each other as friends,
yes,
friends.
absolutely.
our children.
Mm-hmm.
It has just probably been the single most helpful thing.
Absolutely.
Really, truly.
Yeah.
So, who wants to say their love language?
I guess I'll go
first?
since
You go
gifts is
first.
not.
Yeah.
So I took the test, and it's funny because you think you're one thing,
Yeah.
but when you really read, and the test is easy, you realize, oh wait, I am more like that, or more like this. So
Yeah.
I am physical touch, and quality time. Quality time is my second, and third is my gifts.
Yeah.
So so that's mine. My husband's is, what was it?
His was
acts of service.
Yes.
Followed by.
Physical touch, and then quality time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, she's really good because I don't remember my top three. Mine is words of affirmation, and my husband's is quality time.
Yeah. And mine is first quality time, and then acts of service, and then Bob's is words of affirmation, and then acts of service. So,
now, granted,
but
I just took my test, so
Yeah.
well, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think that those can change at different times. I think
Yes.
mostly you kind of get into a group where that's kind of what it is.
Right.
Consistent.
so physical touch is more with Keith in my family, but my friends it's quality time.
Yeah.
It's amazing the situation.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
And
She's like,
what's
yeah.
funny is physical touch. You sit there and go physical touch. I mean, it could be rubbing my back. It could be just holding my hand.
Sitting
Yeah.
next
It doesn't
to
necessarily
you, yeah.
have to be in the bedroom. It
Right.
could be outside
Oh, yeah.
of the bedroom. So
And sometimes those are probably more what you
Right.
need in general.
right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I will say this. When I first did the love language test at church, it really changed my life because I actually always assumed that my love language was acts of service.
Mhm.
And when I figured out that it was quality time, it changed my life because I didn't realize why I was so frustrated in so many areas
Right.
of my
Mhm.
life. And then as soon as I figured that out, completely changed my life.
Oh, yeah.
Completely.
Yeah. It's about understanding yourself.
Yes.
And when you can understand yourself, then you can communicate to your
Yes.
Right,
partner.
I can
Yes.
say
What
this
you
is
need.
what I need.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
that person, if they care about you, can provide what you
Yes.
need
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
much easier.
Maybe we should break down the love languages a little bit.
Yes. Oh, yeah,
Explain
that's a great
those.
idea.
Explain it.
Yeah.
So, words of affirmation, kind of self-explanatory, but I need to hear you, and you can tell me as many times in one day,
Yeah.
and it still will mean the same each time.
So when you
that
hear
love
it-
me, and the things that you admire about me, or things you're thankful for me, like I need to hear it, and I need to hear it a lot.
Yes.
So, when you hear those things, what does it do for you? It doesn't just make you happy, but
Right, it
you
makes
have a
me
certain
feel loved.
feeling.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the point of
Uh-huh.
each finding out what your love language is. How does it make you feel loved?
Mhm.
Not like, oh, I like that, or that's
Because everybody
nice.
likes gifts. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you want to give me $100? Of course
Right.
I like that,
Yeah.
but I would
Yeah.
rather you spend time with me.
Yeah,
Right.
because
right.
that makes you feel loved.
Yeah.
So Jason hit it jackpot by sending you those little notes,
Yeah,
which to someone else, like I'm going to say me. I mean, that would.
And it wouldn't be that you wouldn't
I wouldn't appreciate it, but it wouldn't
Right.
have filled me the same way it filled you.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
So,
And I think for you too, because the way it is with Bob, he also that will make him feel very unloved if either they don't communicate
Yeah.
certain words to you, or
Yeah.
if they say negative things. Like I've learned with
oh
Bob, like I say things differently than I would say to myself or somebody who doesn't have that,
yeah,
because
right.
it also can hurt them.
So I've even heard it said that it takes 10 positive things to undo one negative.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's very true for a words person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Negative words can really hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
like with Jason, knowing that, okay, I have this opportunity to really make my wife feel loved, him
Yeah.
knowing your love language,
Yeah.
he was able to do those things for you and really set your marriage up for success by simply knowing that one
Right.
thing.
Yeah. And it cost him nothing.
It costs
Yeah.
him nothing.
Just,
Absolutely.
just time.
Most of these, unless it's gifts, but even with gifts, which
Yeah.
we'll get to that later,
Yeah.
but even gifts, it doesn't mean like you're buying me diamonds and roses and
100%.
stuff. It can be
It's
very
simple.
small
Oh,
things.
yeah.
It's you thought of me.
Right.
Right.
So I bought you
Yeah.
this pickle. Or
Yeah,
I bought
there's a story with the pickle. So Keith, we were at since she brought up the pickle,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what it is. So Keith, we were at a basketball game, and Keith went to concession. He said, "Babe, do you need something?" I said, "No, I'm good." Well, he came back with a pickle, and I'm like, "You bought yourself a pickle?" He goes, "No, I bought that for you." And I literally blushed, like, "You bought me a pickle?"
Yeah.
Like, I was so. And he goes, "Dorothy, I didn't expect you to be so." I said, "But you thought of me." It wasn't even about the pickle.
No.
It was about the thought that you saw something and said, "She's going to like that." And he got it for me, and it made the rest of my night. I was literally laughing to where I was crying because it was just so erupted to the pickle.
And then what'd you do when you opened the pickle?
Oh my goodness. When I opened a pickle and it took a bite, it squirted the guy in front of me. And I was like,
all over the back of his head.
So watch that.
Okay, so moving on. Yeah, like just what you're saying, it's how he makes you feel. That moment that I felt thought of.
Yeah.
And it was just a pickle. He probably paid $1 for.
Exactly.
But knowing that person thinks of you.
Yeah.
And, went out their way to make you feel how you
feel. And so for me, my love language is quality time. And I always have to remind Bob that it's quality over quantity because he gets set in his mind, I need to do this, I need to do that, and it needs to be like a production office stuff. And I'm like, no, I just need quality. Give me quality time for a short amount of time, and that will fill fill my love tank. Yeah. I don't need a lot. I just need undivided attention.
Yes.
Right.
And when we're parents,
that's hard.
Yes, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And then my second is acts of service. Mm-hmm. And so for that, it will be maybe you decided to do the dishes for me when you realized I had a really busy day. Yeah. Or you just did those little things that typically would be like what you call like my chore. You know, like something I would typically do, but you saw that I was unattended or I couldn't get to it. And so you took care of that just to serve me. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's it. But Keith does his a little bit different.
I asked Keith last night, whatever. Yeah, we did test last night. So I asked him.
She just revealed.
You've done yours before. You redid yours last night.
You've done it before.
But I said, Keith, you got to do this. So whenever we talked about it, I said, so like, if I go and clean the house, I don't feel like I'm doing anything for you in an active service. I feel like that's kind of what I do. That's kind of what, even though he helps tremendously. And I said, so does that kind of fill your love? Do you feel love? He's like, I said, what does acts of service looks like for you? Yeah. And he said, actually, I appreciate you doing those things, but it doesn't make me feel loved. Acts of service for me looks more like if I'm doing something outside, like cutting the grass, you're there helping me because I love to cut the grass.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And like he was hanging up some guitar mounts for my son, and he said, you were there with me while I was doing that. So it was almost like I was working, but you were working alongside me. And I said, okay. So it kind of helped me know that.
You were serving him at the same time that he was still doing something, but he felt served by you being there.
By me being there. So his acts of service looked a little different than Christy's acts of service. And that's
interesting.
So
one of the things too that they talk about is the love tank.
Yes.
So the love tank. Is your love tank empty or full? And that largely depends on your needs being met, obviously. Mm-hmm. So has my husband told me I love you and I and thank you for this or whatever, has that been said to me, or have we gone through a period where it's been busy and we're not communicating that much? Yeah, that happens.
Yeah,
that starts to look like Mama's getting a little grumpy. Okay,
irritable.
very irritable, and you're going, I just feel like I'm not close to you right now, and it's because that love tank is getting a little low, or empty.
Yeah.
And it's important to recognize that.
Yes, and I think that is so the key of all of this communication is that now I realize I'm getting irritable because I am feeling low in my love tank.
Right.
And I just feel like all of that stuff really helps you grow personally and relationally.
Yes.
Just by simply doing like a little self-check, checking your engine.
Yeah.
And like you said, communicating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Letting Keith know, hey, look, I feel like we haven't been on a date in a while, and I wanted that one-on-one time.
Right.
And let's just go do something. And it could be a coffee date. It could be, it doesn't have to be elaborate. Hey, look, we're 45 minutes away from a beach, and we literally sat in the back of the Traverse and watched the sun go down. And that was like one of the best nights of conversating and and so I think it's those little things.
Oh, yeah.
And if Keith needs something from me, just listening to what he needs and try to not be on the defense with it.
Meet that need.
Yeah.
Meet that need. Yeah.
And then you were going to talk about receiving versus giving, how that works.
Yeah, so that's an interesting side to all this is once you do know your love language, a trap that we could kind of fall into is you start projecting that onto the other person.
Yes.
And you're going, why isn't this filling me?
Yeah.
And so what that can maybe look like is I'm giving Jason all these compliments or, I'm wanting to have conversation with him, but I'm like, why is that not filling me? And it's because I need that from him. But what I need to give to him is what his love language is.
And what is Jason's?
Quality time.
Yes.
And so when I work from home a lot. So when I'm working, when he comes in there, instead of me, keep working and not talk to him, I need to just stop.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
Quality time, girl. Stop what you're doing.
Yes.
Pay attention.
Close the computer.
Yeah.
And have that conversation. So it's really important after you know your love language to find out what is your spouse's, what is your boyfriend, what is your best friend,
your parents,
your
even,
parents,
like just any
your
relationship
kids.
for
I mean,
sure, that you care about.
Yeah, and I noticed that even with my youngest. You
Yeah.
know, when I pick him up from school, he don't want me on the phone. He wants my undivided attention to talk about school or when I want a guitar. And so, and then Ashton, of course, he loves his mama's hug. So, your children is also it impacts them.
Exactly. You have to know what are their love language so that I can fill their love tank and really show them how much I love them.
And when we get together, I think all three of us could say quality time is our love tank. And we always leave so fulfilled.
Yes.
Well,
close second
and
for
it's funny too because like I've learned, because words of affirmation is very low for me, but Bob's is words of affirmation, so I've learned through that and I've learned through Chrissy.
Yeah.
So for me, if it's something that is not as easily for me, I'm just learning, and I'm learning that like if I think something, typically maybe I wouldn't automatically think, let me say it.
Right.
I'm training myself continually to say those things.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing with my husband and y'all's husband, same thing. You have to kind of continually train yourself because it doesn't come naturally maybe for you to spend quality time or give gifts or give affirmation or do service. You just are continually training yourself to do those things for the other person.
Yes.
Because once your love tank is full, you're definitely giving the love tank.
Oh,
back.
100%.
Better your relationships all around.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It's a win-win.
It is a win-win. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And even if your love tank is empty, that don't mean you got to withhold. No, I'm still working on that.
That's a hard one. Like, hold on, I'm empty. You ain't getting no quality time. Sorry.
Shut down.
Woo, that's hard, y'all.
It's hard for us women. We go through different things.
Oh,
but,
gosh, yeah. That's
we're
like
on an
episode.
upward hill of growth.
So just overall, you've been married 18 years.
18 years this
You've been married to Bob.
10 years this year.
Yep, and I'll be 22 years in
our matriarch here. That's right, girl.
Yay.
So
it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's making a big difference.
Yeah, it is. And I think communication and learning each other. What's amazing about marriage and relationships, you continue to evolve.
Yeah.
And friendships shouldn't become complacent.
Nope.
And a marriage shouldn't become complacent. And obviously, if you have children, you see they grow and evolve into young women and men. And so, I think that's one thing to learn, communicating and
be committed to personal growth.
Yeah.
Now that the serious stuff is out of the way, let's talk about some funny stories. So does anybody have a funny dating story?
Who you looking
I think we all do, actually.
Yeah, dating.
So you want to go first?
I guess since I'm the oldest, so man, since my story is the oldest, it's vintage.
Vintage.
So I went to this birthday party for one of my friends. I was 16 years old. And and what you trying to say? Nothing. So, and Keith was there. Now I met him the previous Wednesday, and I was like, that guy is cute. And so I met him there. Yeah, I had the eyes. I'm like, but he was he's a little bit older than me. And so when I got to the party, I was like, I don't know. I was not expecting him to be there. And so the party's going and everybody's, we're just hanging out, talking, playing little games. And we went to the scavenger hunt and he was kind of talking to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, so cute. And so we're sitting down eating cake and ice cream. And I had this, they know the story.
Yeah.
So I had this white shirt and I was feeling myself. I was like, oh my gosh, she's so cute. I'm so glad I wore this outfit. It was like shorts and a shirt and I had like these little wedge shoes. And so I was sitting there and I noticed him like looking down and he kind of was looking like right here. And I was like, it was like hello. I'm like,
eyes up here, bro. Eyes up here.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh, she's looking at me. Oh my gosh. And I was like feeling all the feels. And then he goes, you dropped some ice cream on your shirt. And y'all,
What kind of ice cream?
chocolate.
No, you did not.
On a white shirt.
Ice cream.
I have the photo. It just so happened that I have a picture. And it's a
Big
old chocolate stain. And so I was haunt the rest of the party. He's sitting there telling me, you got chocolate on his shirt. And I'm over here thinking he's checking
me out.
No, you're checking out my stain.
Shame.
You're like,
Shame.
So that's my little.
that's
you know what?
Awesome.
It didn't keep
That's
him
so
away.
That's right.
He came back from
That's
war.
right.
That's so
Okay.
funny.
So do you want to tell yours?
Yeah, what you
Oh, I don't care. Okay, I don't know if mine's really funny or
Oh my God. Hey. It was funny to
So
you.
with me, I had 2 kids when Bob and I got married, and so like when Bob was trying to woo me and pursue me, he also was trying to woo and pursue the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one night we were at my house, which was the trailer, not the
The-
trailer, the trailer.
trailer.
And so we were there, and we had this big oak tree with like a swing in it.
Yeah.
And so the girls had asked him, it's like, hey, Mr. Bob, do you think you can climb that rope? And it's like this skinny rope. And so Bob, like, trying to impress the girls, he gets on the rope and he climbs all the way up. And it is
Go
a
ahead.
huge tree.
Yeah.
He gets all the way to the top, and then he has to come down.
Oh
He
my
slides
gosh.
all
Oh.
the way down.
His hand was it like that type of rope that was.
Yes.
Oh.
So he just looks at us and he's like, I gotta go home. And we're like, okay.
That sounds
So he
painful.
goes home and his hands are like completely ripped open.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so I called him the next day and I was just like, hey, how you doing? He's like, I didn't sleep very well. I'm like, why didn't you sleep very well? He had to sleep with his hands in ice water the whole night. And so that's just funny to me because I'm like, you had 3 women to impress. And
Yeah. And he,
Good luck.
hey, at least he left nothing behind. He was like, I'm going all in.
And you know what?
Leave the skin behind.
Hey, it worked.
It worked.
It did work.
That
You
is
win and
so
you
but hey, I'm impressed.
What's your story?
Okay, my story is so embarrassing. What's the word? Haunt?
Haunt.
I'm haunt. To tell y'all my story.
That's a Cajun word, haunt.
Ooh, I feel like I'm
You're
sweating.
getting hot while
I'm
you're
getting hot.
hot.
I'm getting hot while I'm haunt, y'all. Okay, brace yourself. So, me and Jason had just started dating. I mean, early dating. He grew up Pentecostal, and so like I'm gonna press him. Let's go to church together. Well, there's this big, nice Pentecostal church in the area, and so we go. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm all dressed nice, and
All proper.
and all of a sudden it's like this whiff. I'm like, oh my God, what is that smell? What, like, stink? And I'm like, is that, like, who is that? Like, you're looking around, like,
Who would be smelling around me?
yeah. I know it ain't me.
Surely not.
I'm like, who is this? So the thought flashes across my mind. Check your shoes. So I do like this little slime move, and I'm just like, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's me.
She had chocolate on her shoe.
It's dog poop on my shoe.
Oh,
And I'm
Chris.
like,
In the church house.
in the church, middle of service, I'm going, what do I do?
Oh.
What do I
What do you do?
So I'm
What
like,
did you do?
I just kind of leaned over. I was like, wait, calm, babe. I gotta go. Can you go with me? And I just slide the shoe off, and I hold it in my hand, and I gotta walk
You walked down
down the aisle of the
without your
church
shoe?
with just one shoe
You
on.
walked down the aisle with one shoe?
Yeah, shoe the dog poop. Hold that dog poop shoe down low.
Breathing hard.
Go, let's get out of here. Got outside, and I was like,
I can picture
that was me. That was me staking the
In
whole
the Lord's
road.
house. In the Lord's house.
That was
Oh,
so
man.
embarrassing.
So that was you the whole time.
I'm outside scraping the dog poop off the shoe.
Oh yeah.
This is real attractive.
But you know what? He knew you'd be a good wife.
That's
You know,
right.
He said she
Went
would
to
do
church
good.
and can scrape the poop off the shoe.
It's so much
Yeah.
fun talking all about love. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's been practical
Yeah.
and fun. And
Yeah.
Dorothy, you're going to put the love language test
Yes,
down
at the
bottom.
bottom.
And make sure you go and
Yes,
take
go
it.
take it. So
And
helpful.
give it to your friends.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's really
it's
changed
fun.
your life. But
Yeah.
hey, We love you guys, our backseat besties. We can't wait to see you next time.
Yes.
Hold on.
Bye.
Opposite. That's what
Pause.
I
You're saying quantity. You need quantity more quality. You
Yeah,
want
that's what you're saying.
That's what you're saying.
I know. I keep messing up.
Okay.
So you need
Quality. Quality. You have to spend
do
time.
So
Quality.
you don't. So now
You don't see this.
earlier, and I was like, oh.
All kinds of relationships. What kind of relationships? I was calling.
So Keith and I met
So I met Keith. Keith and I went back. And then I met Keith and we met.
Yeah, that's just short. I mean, he was.
You're a pretty person.
Yeah, I'm talking about you.
Okay. And